So, it continues. Hello there, welcome back to Max's Writing Advice Q&A. NaNoWriMo 2016 edition. You send your questions. This is the second part of my Answerathon, where I'm going to be answering the remainder of all of the questions you sent, all of them, as fast as I can. I'm gonna assume you watched the first video, so you know what you're in for. Let me tell you, a quick refresher, that the following is merely my advice, my opinion, on what works for me. Don't take it as gospel, instead take it as the ramblings of a silly person who looks a little bit, or rather precisely like this. There's a lot more questions. We gotta get through them. Gotta go fast as possible. Let's get through. The first one goes a little bit like this. Hi Max, I would like to know your opinion on the order that one writes a novel. I'm doing Nano for the first time this year, and I only have a few main scenes planned out. So, should I write those scenes first, or start from the beginning and write in chronological order? This is going to depend mostly on the sort of writer that you are. I don't write out of order. I exclusively write chronologically because that's the way my brain is wired. There are writers out there who can do it. I'm not one of them. I recommend, if you haven't already, check out my guide for how to plan a novel. It helps you sort out those very first scenes, the very beginning of your story, so you can start with a bit of a better footing. Go check it out, How to Plan a Novel from the Ground Up by yours truly. But ultimately, you're gonna have to do what works for you. Every writer is different, and there is no right way. There is absolutely no right way. I write chronologically because that's the way that works for me. Find what works best for you, okay? Next question! I have a question about naming characters. I was wondering if there are any rules about naming characters. I was hoping the names would come to me in writing visions, but I struggle a lot. I have checked your other videos, but can't find anywhere it has been talked about. I would appreciate help in this little problem. Regarding names, there are no rules, only recommendations. First off, if you don't know your character's name, it is completely okay to give them a placeholder name for the story. It is completely okay, there is nothing wrong with it. You can fix that later during revision. In my experience, I usually like to make it a point to come up with the names while I'm brainstorming, to actually get them done in paper. But I have plenty of writerly friends who have renamed characters all the way through like second, third draft of the story, so it's not completely abnormal. As for more general tips, I have two of them. First and foremost, make sure that you have characters with different naming structures. I've talked about this horror story tons of times, that I was reading a book once, and there were like 3 antagonists, and all of them had names that began with like the same 4 letters. So it became really, really obtuse and really hard to follow, and it was like, that was literally what made that book literally a pain in the butt to read. So I would like to urge you to make sure that your characters have a different naming structure, or at least, if you squint your eyes, you don't want them all to look like the same sort of like blotch of letters, you know? As for my second piece of advice, a much more personal one, or things that I don't particularly enjoy in fiction anymore, I would like to urge you to stay away from giving your character a name that would spoil a part of their character arc. I can tell you now from experience that whenever I see a character named Cain, I know that that character is gonna end up betraying or backstabbing somebody. It's a little ineffective, because like, yeah, sure, if the people don't know what that name is a reference to, or what that name actually means, you can surprise them, sure, but then you have everyone else who knows what this name means, or, you know, has been reading books for a while, and you end up with this sort of like sense of like, yeah, your name is Cain, you're gonna betray somebody. My white balance is all over the place. You're gonna end up betraying somebody, aren't you? You don't want that to happen, so stay away from names that immediately mean something that is relevant to your story. Next question! Hey Max, I have a question. Are prologues needed? I feel like mine would need one to give small backstory as to what happened before the story starts. However, this is explained within the story itself as well. Should I add the prologue anyway or keep it out? We're once again in that situation where you're writing the first draft and you're considering making edits or causing large changes in the story. Here's my particular piece of advice. There is nothing wrong with prologues, as long as they're effective. How do you know if your prologue is effective? You won't know until you start revising that story. So I say write it, get as much writing done as you can, have as much clay or cloth for you to work with during the revision process. Remember that your first draft is just that. The first draft. It's not ultimate. It's not going to be what your story is going to look like forever. It will change, and you will cut things, and you will, of course, because it's part of the revision process, seek to make this story the best it can possibly be. So at that point, you will look at your prologue and ask yourself, is this an effective prologue? And then you will realize, if it's effective, you're going to keep it. If it's not effective, you will either make it effective or cut it out entirely. For now, though, there's no way for you to know, but the only way you're gonna get to that point is by finishing the story first. So I say, keep on writing. The next question is a double question. You always say that we must follow our characters while writing, but sometimes when I let them be without interfering, they become very cliché. How do I know when they're just naturally like that, or my brain is doing what is common? Secondly, last Nano, I tried to write a book differently of what I often do, but it kind of turned out being the same kind of thing that I always do. Being more specific, I usually write more dramatic/serious stuff, but I wanted my new novel to be more lighthearted and funny in a dark surrounding, kinda like Tim Burton. But it ended up being about talking about depression following the death of a relative and some dark topics that I tried to lighten up, but it was difficult. Do you have any suggestions for trying a new type of style and succeeding portraying it? First and foremost, regarding your first point about not being sure as to whether your characters are being cliche or they're being themselves. They're being themselves. Trust in them. Simple question. Always trust your characters. They're always right. And Max from the future just edited out me rambling for like 5 minutes about why cliches are bad. So I'm just gonna tell you, cliches are bad. Let's save you those 5 minutes. Trusting your characters. It is your brain worrying and your brain doubting yourself and second guessing yourself. Ignore those feelings, overcome those feelings, keep on writing, trusting your characters, keep on following them. They're being themselves. I promise you that. As for your second question, writing in a new style and portraying it correctly. I think that you have to keep in mind that every book is its own beast, and the book that you think you're writing is probably not the book that is gonna end up being at the end. I can tell you this from personal experience. I finished books and began the revision process and looked at it and gone, that this story ended up being about something else altogether. And that's the organic nature of storytelling. You move on step by step, you traverse uncharted waters, and you end up somewhere completely new altogether. This is not wrong. This is all part of writing. And I'm sitting here like, is what happened to you exactly a problem? I don't know. Personally, I don't ever come into a story saying, I want to write X or I want to write Y. I usually just begin with characters, because that's what I get out of stories. You have to let the story surprise you. You know, you have to go where the story is taking you, and you have to finish it and get all the way to the finish line. And I know it sucks, especially if you wanted to write something one particular way and it became something a little bit more different. You have to just be true to the story, though. You can't just change the course halfway because you don't think you like where it is going. You have to see it all the way through. There are stories where I was in the middle of writing them and I was thinking, this is not going well, is it? But I pushed through. I pushed through because I didn't know. I thought I knew, but I didn't. And the story ended up surprising me, and surprising me in a good way. You have to let your writing surprise you, okay? The book, those books that you enjoy, those books that have made an impact on you, are not the books that showed up on the outline, are not the books that were there in the first draft. They changed through revision, and I can assure you they most definitely changed through the act of writing. Ultimately, trust in your story, keep on following. You don't know where it's gonna go. Maybe it will surprise you. It will most likely will, so allow it to do so, okay? Okay, I officially started my creative writing degree! Yay! And one of the second years told me a key stylistic feature, rhetorical questions, isn't really good for writing stories. She has a year's more experience under her belt compared to me and my betas, who like the feature I used because it generally works well for a confused and inexperienced narrator. According to the second year, it's not good because it's going against show not tell. Ugh. I relate to that feeling. And now I just feel hyper aware of my use of them. Shall I ignore her and continue Neon Blood, this NaNoWriMo, or just run with how Aurela narrates? What do you think? First off, this is Smiley! Hey, Smiley! I'm answering your questions. I think a couple of them slipped from the first video. I meant to answer at least one in the first video. I apologize if I forgot. I randomized them a little bit to make it a little bit more fair. Now, first and foremost, congratulations on starting your creative writing degree thingy. That's exciting. Secondly, Remember that every writer is different, and a year of experience is literally nothing. A year of experience is literally nothing, and if this second year tells you that she doesn't like rhetorical questions, that's okay, that's their opinion. And, I mean, they explained to you why they felt that way, and you and I disagree with that, because show and tell is not a hard rule. That's ridiculous. I made a whole video on show not tell, go look it up. I go in great lengths about what show versus tell doesn't mean what people tell you it means. It means something else entirely. So ultimately, again, you have to trust in your characters and trust in the way they tell stories, because you can keep second guessing yourself, and the reality is that it doesn't matter, because you're gonna revise the story and make it better anyway. If I told you how many times, when I write stories, especially with a narrator, or a character who's a narrator in the story and a character in the story as well, it takes me about 2/3 of the book to get used to their shoes, to get used to the way they tell stories. It takes a while. You have to trust in your characters. It's not gonna feel perfect from the start. So you have to have faith in your characters and move on from there. I know it's scary to let go of control. I know it's scary to jump into a project not knowing where it is gonna go, where it's going to lead. But that's part of writing. Trusting your character, see how they tell stories, and follow on from there. As a little bit of an extra note, I took a lot of creative writing courses in college. I took a lot of them, and I met a lot of writers, and you meet a lot of goofballs. Let's call them goofballs. Oh, there was this one guy who didn't believe in describing his characters. He would turn in his 10 pages of writing, and there would be like 7 pages of writing, and then like 3 pages of full-blown images of people that were supposed to be his characters, but he didn't want to describe them. So you would flip over the next page, and it was a full image of Salma Hayek, and he was like, "Yeah, that's my character. That's what she looks like." And I'm just like, what? You meet a lot of goofballs when taking creative writing courses. Remember that their opinions are ultimately just that, their opinions. Find what works for you, toss away what doesn't. As long as you take criticism with an open mind and seek to find what would make your story the best, then that's fine. But the feedback that you got and the way that guy told stories doesn't seem very effective for what you're doing, and that's okay. Okay? Okay. What do you personally do to reboot your creative drive when you feel burnt out? Music, music, music. I like to put on my headphones, go for a walk, go for a run, put on music that I associate with the story, with the characters, or just fun, exciting songs, or grim songs, depending on the tone of the story. And imagine my characters being in that music video, or just thinking about them. Anime opening themes are the best thing for this, literally the best thing. And it hypes me up, it gets me excited, because it gets me thinking about them, and it makes them feel more real, as opposed to being up here. I picturing them doing other things, as though imagining like the opening theme for the anime version of this story. That's cool stuff. That keeps me motivated, because it reminds me of my characters, and it reminds me, yeah, I'm writing this story because I love these people, and because they're fun, and because they excite me every time I sit down to write, and they keep telling me this story full of surprises, and that's fun. So that's what I do. That really helps me with the burnout. Regarding creativity, and to keep yourself from burning out later, I recommend allocating breaks. Please allocate breaks. It's okay to take a day off. It's okay to skip writing days. As long as you get the book done, it doesn't matter how long it took you. Okay? Okay. Next question. Tips on handling work and writing. Yes. Write during your breaks. Write during your breaks. Make sacrifices during the rest of your day to allocate time to write. Someone out there's gonna be like Max, I can't write during work. Find a way to write during work. Go to your car, lock yourself up, and just type on your phone. I did that for a long while. I developed a really good words per minute with just my thumbs. Get writing done. Get writing done. And if you see my videos, you know me. Like I back when I worked at the laboratory, I wrote during both of my breaks and both of my lunches, and people thought I was a little kooky, but you know what? That's fine, because I finished books and I'm not working in the laboratory anymore. Make sacrifices. Find what works for you, okay? It's gonna suck, it's gonna be hard, but it is going to be worth it, okay? Okay. Yay! How do you stop yourself from thinking about your future debut novel and just write what you want in the moment rather than thinking about where it will fit into the market and whether you'll be taken seriously, etc.? Is it just a matter of willpower and having confidence in what you want? Do you have any tips for achieving those things? Thank you. This is one of those questions that I never get. because you're probably more aware of the market than most people. Let me tell you a couple of secrets about the market. The market doesn't matter. The market doesn't matter at all. If you're writing books based on what's popular right now, you're already behind everyone else. Also, secondly, it doesn't really matter what your debut novel is, because you're gonna keep on writing books anyway. And, you know, I mean, yeah, that novel is gonna be there, and it's gonna be a thing that you wrote, but you're gonna keep on writing. You're gonna keep on making more books. I know that it can be really stressful. And also, real talk, like, the first book you write is not gonna be the first book you publish. Let me just make that very clear right now. The white balance is all over the place in this video. Like, honestly, and you're asking, is it just about willpower and having confidence? That's definitely not confidence. In my case, it's just reckless determination. Just write what excites you. There is a market for those things. No matter what you want to write, no matter how weird you think it is, someone out there will love it. Someone out there will like it. I can assure you of that. Stuff like this ends up being more about personality and voice than subject matter, honestly, because genres are kind of meaningless. But that's another conversation for another day. What I think you should do in this particular situation, if you haven't already, check out my planning guide, because it literally walks you through the whole, what do you want to write? If you could write one book about whatever, what would it be about? It holds your hand and it walks you through the entire process. So if I had to say in my case, what helped me overcome these fears and these doubts? Reckless determination. I wanted to write, and by God was I going to get those books done. So, find what drives you and push on forward. The market doesn't matter. It's gonna be fine. Keep on writing, writerly friend. Keep on writing. Any tips for writing a book that's set in a place you have never been to? How to research for it? How to make it believable? Etc. I've been having quite a lot of trouble with it, so any advice you have would be great. Thanks! Regarding research, aside from just Google it, look up documentaries on the particular time and place that you're looking for. That will give you a lot of information. Don't watch just one, watch several. Aside from that, I remember having a writerly friend who would recommend going to your local bookstore and looking for those travel books regarding whatever location you're traveling to. Those are also really useful. Not the best, because they only show the cool stuff about the country, but it gives you a little bit of the feeling for the authenticity. Ultimately, though, and I have to make this really clear right now, that like, no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be 100% accurate, because the place you're writing about is gonna keep on existing, and your book will actually be set in one place and time. Places change, people change, cultures change. Ultimately, I say focus on capturing the element of the culture that you want to have the story be about, and once you have revised it, consider, if you can, sending your manuscript to somebody who lives in this place and getting their feedback on it. That would actually make a world of difference. And as for the next question, how do you sequel? I haven't written a decent original work sequel ever. They all suffer from middle book syndrome, or are just trash that cannot be salvageable. Any advice on writing sequels? Yes, sequels suck! Sequels are so freaking hard to write. If you have already written the first book, here's what I want you to do. If you're gonna start writing the second book or the third book, whatever, go read the previous book. Go read the previous book. I know it sucks to read your older writing. Just go and read it. As you're reading the previous book in the series, make notes on all of the plot threads that you left open, and all of the really cool things that you could bring back for the second book. And then sit down to brainstorm the sequel, keeping in mind the cool stuff you want to have happen, the things that should follow up from the first book, and the open threads that you left in the previous book as well. I know it's not like a huge mind-shattering piece of advice, but the last thing you want to do, honestly, the last thing you want is to have your readers read your second book and go, but what about this thing you talked about on the previous book? Where did that go? You don't want to be in that situation. And also, really quickly, of course, really easily, to save yourself time, when you are revising the second book, as you're revising, make notes of the open threads that you have, of the cool things that could happen, and the things that you believe should probably maybe be involved regarding your characters. This will save you time, because then you can finish revising, and then jump into writing the next one with the notes that you already have. There you go. There's a life hack, a writerly life hack there for you. Hi! For your NaNoWriMo question thing, you've probably been asked this question before, but how do you decide on which project I should write for NaNoWriMo? I have lots of different ideas that I want to write in the near future, but I'm having trouble picking just one. Oh yes, here we are once again. The shiny story idea problem. There are so many shiny, cute blood bunnies. Which one will you write about? The blood bunny thing really falls apart when you realize that you're writing the blood bunny. What are you doing to the blood bunnies? Anyhow, if you haven't already, check out my planning guide. It covers one of these particular points. It will help you figure out which one is the one you want to write. How to Plan a Novel from the Ground Up by Mr. Kirin. That's me. As for something else, there is an unfortunate reality that I want you to be aware of and remember and hold dear in your heart, and that is that there will always be more cool, shiny, interesting story ideas than there will be time to write them. This is fact. No matter how hard you try, especially the more you write, I can assure you this as fact. Flip over a rock, there's 2 story ideas out there. Writing lots and finishing stories lots, it's not like you're leveling up in writing and you're becoming better, you're becoming more aware for story ideas. Anything can become a story idea. Anything can become a story idea, especially if you have hung out with me or my friends or have seen my LP videos. All the time I'm like, that's a cool story idea right there, or what if this silly thing happened? I'm pretty sure the entirety of the Sims LP is just me coming up with really dumb fanfic ideas. Ideas are everywhere. What you gotta do is pick the one that excites you the most and not feel guilty about not working on the other stuff, okay? You have to... Writing takes a long time. It takes a long while to write a book, and you can't spend it feeling guilty, okay? And I can assure you, there will always be cool story ideas, but the one that you finish, the one that you complete is the one that matters the most, okay? Okay. Keep on writing. Way back when, my sociology teacher told me my book read like a fanfic. Do you have any idea what it means to create books that read like fanfiction? You and I both know I wrote a lot of it back in the dark days of 2013 and 2014. But now I'm worried about what I wrote and whether it caused stylistic problems by making my stuff read like fanfiction. I have no idea what your teacher means by it reads like fanfiction. I mean, like, maybe your teacher meant that it read a little bit amateurish, but I mean, at the same time, yeah, you were 13 and 14. Like, the whole reason why fanfiction is seen as being like bad writing is because it's you really, really young people writing it. Like, I can go on a whole thing about this, but I can assure you that fanfiction is by no means inherently bad. Now, to move forward from your point, do I believe that you writing fanfiction when you were younger has actually caused stylistic problems? No. No! If anything, you're a better writer now because you've been writing for a long time. Also, by the way, I'm pretty darn certain that right now, I'm absolutely certain that what you're writing right now is better than what you wrote in 2015, better than what you wrote in 2014, and absolutely better than what you wrote in 2013. As a writer, you get better by writing. You get better by writing, completing stories, and moving forward. It's an upward process. You can't get worse at writing unless you're actually honestly not trying. And as I've said in the past as well, fanfiction is no different than writing as long as you are taking it seriously, you're being clear in your writing, and you seek to revise it and make it the best story it can possibly be. There's absolutely nothing inherently wrong with fanfiction. The reason why it gets so much bad rep is because it's young people writing it, and young people don't have as much experience with writing, so it ends up reading amateurish. But honestly, real talk, again, if you seek to tell the best story that you can by revising it and making sure that it is clear and it reads well, then I see absolutely no problem with this at all. So, keep on writing, Smiley. You're getting better. You can't even tell, but you're getting better. Keep on writing. My best friend and I are talking about doing NaNoWriMo, but how do you get on a schedule to write and publish chapters on Wattpad? I'm writing chapters of my book throughout the week, and I'm in the habit of publishing on Friday afternoons or early Saturday. How can I manage multiple books and publish chapter weekly? So this is a multifaceted question. How do you juggle 2 different projects at the same time, and how do you, alongside writing, release it or work on another project at the same time? my particular piece of advice is to not do that. It's part of the way my brain is wired, though. I've tried, heaven knows I've tried, to juggle 2 projects at the same time, and I have royally failed at that every time. My brain is just not wired like that. You have to find what works for you. Personally, real talk, I would rather write the whole thing, get it done, get it finished, and then release it, than living on a week-by-week basis. I used to do that. That's no way to live. Man, it's freaking stressful to be like on the deadline every day, every week. It's a pain in the butt, and I honestly don't like it. So my advice goes a little bit like this. I think you have to find what works for you. I have never been able to do that, and if you can't find a way to manage your time in a way in which you can have this happen, you might have to either make sacrifices or figure out another way to do it entirely. Personally, because I've been there, you don't want to be doing chapters on a weekly basis. Also because you're not having time to revise, and you don't have the scope of how the story is going to come out, and you have the control of how you release your story. You don't have to release it on Wattpad on a week-by-week basis. Find what works for you, okay? I haven't found a way myself to juggle 2 stories at the same time. Maybe you're a different writer, maybe you can. The only way to find out is to do a little bit of experimentation, but also, whatever you do, whatever project you embark yourself upon, add a little bit of extra time for padding, because life will get in the way. Life will get in the way somehow, and if you give yourself a little bit of extra padding, you will have that extra little chance of bouncing back when life strikes. And I can assure you, the random encounters of life are out there, and you never know when one of them will strike, so you might as well plan ahead, okay? Okay, and now for the final question of this video, of this answerathon. I will keep on answering questions, by the way, make sure to tag along. I will answer more questions, but the last one, which just so happens to be an interesting subject, let's tackle it. It goes a little bit like this. How do I keep living through November if I can't participate in NaNoWriMo? Let's be a little real here. November is possibly the worst month ever for holding an event like this. American Thanksgiving is in there for once. You also have to deal with midterms or finals, depending on where you are. There's a lot going on, a lot of business, and the holiday season is just around the corner, so if you work retail, then you are doubly mega ultimate screwed. It sucks. It's terrible. What I would like to tell you is that you have to keep your chin up. It's okay if you don't participate in NaNoWriMo. It's actually completely okay. I know that it sucks not being part of the community, but you can still be part of the community, though. You can still talk about your writing, what you're working on, what you're interested on. You don't also have to be part of, like, the 50,000 word challenge. You can write a little bit here and there. Or, if you can't, you can still be part of the conversation. Share your thoughts, share your feelings. The fact that you're not, being part of the writing challenge doesn't invalidate your feelings. And remember that there are more challenges like these, and you can always just be writing the whole time. That's what I do. I just write all the time. But there's also Camp NaNoWriMo in April and July, which are also basically the exact same challenge, but you can go at your own speed. Those are pretty cool too. Be part of the community, have a cabin, chat with your friends, your writerly friends. That's exciting. But also, if you are dealing with exams and you're working retail and you have Thanksgiving to maybe not look forward to, focus on those things. Get those things done. There's no shame in saying, you know what, I should probably work on my exams. During the exams, work on that stuff. Take care of yourself. Writing is important, but writing is not the be-all, end-all to your life. It's okay to say, I'm going to sit out this NaNoWriMo. You know what? This month, I can't really write a novel or work on a novel this month. That's okay. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. NaNoWriMo is a really strange beast, and I'm glad that it's getting the exposure that it's getting and that it's basically exploded. That's fun. It's exciting. It's bringing a lot more eyes into the whole getting writing done. And it gives me a great chance to talk about stuff like this. NaNoWriMo sells itself as being a challenge of writing 50,000 words in 30 days, and I don't really think that's what it is about. It's a nice arbitrary number to push people to be disciplined about writing every day. Ultimately, though, I don't really think it's about writing every day. You can skip days. You can not write some days because life will get in the way. Ultimately, I personally believe that NaNoWriMo is about developing the habit to write. The discipline to sit down and tell yourself, I'm gonna get writing done right now. I'm gonna work on this book. I'm gonna work on this writing. I'm gonna experience this world through the eyes of my characters and actually doing it. Because people talk and they message me and they're like, I only got these many words done, or I skipped this many days, or I'm failing this hard, and I'm sitting here like, it doesn't matter. As long as you get the book done, it doesn't really matter how long it took you to get there. No one, and I can assure you, no one who matters is gonna look at you and say, oh, you wrote this book in 2 months? Pfft, what a loser. Nobody says that. Nobody says that, honestly. And it doesn't really matter because once the book is done, you can move on from there. Continue on with the rest of the process. Writing the book is not the final, it's not the finish line. It's the ending of one part of the triathlon, when you think about it like that. It's a part of a longer process, and it's okay to take your while. As long as you get the books done, you will get the experience, you'll move forward, and everything will be just right. It's okay to not be part of NaNoWriMo. That's okay too. You gotta take care of yourself. You're an adult, you're a human being, and life will get in the way, and that's okay. As long as you get back to writing, I don't think anything else matters. So, I've gone on way too long, and my white balance is all over the place, and there it goes! I need to get a better webcam for the time being. I hope that you enjoyed my answers to these questions, and if you have questions you would like to ask me, leave them in the comments down below. I'll make it a point to reply to every question that I get, give you a little quick reply before I add them to the pile of questions to be added in a future writing advice Q&A. As always, if you enjoy my content and want to make sure that I can continue on making it for the foreseeable future, please consider pledging to my Patreon page, where you can get lots of cool perks, such as getting to watch my videos early, submitting questions for even quicker writing advice, and more. But if Patreon's not your cup of coffee, how about a cup of tea? Wait a minute. I keep getting that line wrong. Links to all of these things in the description down below. For the time being, though, I've gone on way too long. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for tagging along. Thank you for being part of this ridiculous Answerathon. It went on for way too long, but it was a blast to shoot. For the time being, again, thank you for watching. Thank you for tagging along. November is almost here, and I wish you the best of luck in your writing adventures, okay? Keep on writing, writerly friend. Keep on writing.